Courtroom 7, New York City. The cold fluorescent lights cast a heavy, silent light over the space. The audience seats were packed with people, from curious citizens to news media. All eyes were on the dock, where a young woman stood, looking strangely calm. Sophia Hayes, 23 years old, jet black hair tied neatly, dark skin, bright brown eyes with determination. She is the defendant in a complex money laundering case, related to the powerful Blackstone Group. Although innocent, all the evidence is against her. With no lawyer, no relatives, Sophia decided to defend herself, a bold and risky decision. Memories. Before becoming a victim of justice, Thomas Hayes, Sophia's father, was a notorious and respected lawyer in New York. He was known for his excellent ability and steadfast spirit, never accepting things that were against his professional ethics. During his time working for the Blackstone Group, he discovered a number of illegal activities, fraudulent documents and transactions that the group was secretly carrying out. When asked to participate in the creation of false documents to cover up illegal activities, Thomas refused unequivocally. He not only stood by his conscience but also advised Blackstone executives of the legal risks they would face. His uncompromising stance threatened the company's leadership. They would not accept his intervention, and would rather have him removed than make the changes he proposed. They feared that he would oppose them in any way. Then, as soon as Thomas refused to sign the illegal documents, Blackstone struck back with ruthless force. They fabricated a conspiracy with forged evidence, accusing him of money laundering and corruption. Thomas was soon arrested by the police, and although he appealed, Blackstone's power and connections made it easy for them to pave the way for an unfair trial. Since her father was imprisoned, Sophia not only lost her beloved father but also witnessed the collapse of the ideals of justice that he had taught her. This pain was like a fire that fueled her determination to clear her father's name. She began reading law books, learning about legal procedures, and dreamed of becoming a lawyer to continue the ideals of protecting justice that her father had devoted his life to pursuing. With strong determination, Sophia begins her journey to investigate the truth about what happened to her father. She plans to infiltrate the Blackstone Corporation, taking all risks to exploit the dark secrets that only those on the inside know. When Sophia learned that Blackstone was recruiting for talented lawyers, she felt like this was her last chance to get closer to the organization her father had worked for. Despite knowing that Blackstone was the place that had put her father in prison and wrongfully accused, she was determined to apply, hoping to infiltrate the corporation's system and find evidence to clear his name. Sophia prepared thoroughly for the interview. She thoroughly researched Blackstone, from its organizational structure, internal policies to past lawsuits. She not only read the law but also analyzed relevant cases, drawing valuable lessons that many other candidates might have overlooked. With confidence and enthusiasm, Sophia entered the interview with a strong determination, although she was somewhat nervous about competing with many candidates with extensive experience and expertise. In the interview room, the Blackstone representative was impressed with Sophia's legal knowledge and the solutions she proposed to practical problems facing the corporation. She demonstrated her sharp and perceptive analytical skills, as well as her ability to think critically. Sophia repeatedly emphasized the value of professional ethics, while many other candidates were focused on bringing quick benefits to the corporation. At just 23 years old, Sophia has impressed employers with her knowledge of the law and her determination to work. She has stressed that protecting the interests of her clients is not only a responsibility but also a noble duty, and that she wants to emphasize that the law should be properly enforced. This has touched the heart of one of the recruitment board directors, who has had many internal conflicts about ethics in the industry. Not long after, Sophia received a call informing her that she had been accepted as an intern at Blackstone. Although her heart was torn between joy and fear about her family's past, she knew that this was an opportunity she could not pass up. She was determined to use all her skills and resources to investigate and gather information, thereby trying to uncover the truths buried in the shadows of the corporation. From then on, every day at work was a battle with different challenges. Sophia built relationships with her colleagues, but there was also no shortage of suspicious eyes from many others. She quietly observed and collected information, gradually approaching the documents and major cases that Blackstone was handling. Under the guise of a young intern, Sophia transformed herself into a wolf in sheep's clothing, using her ingenuity and intelligence to find evidence for her father's innocence without anyone knowing that she was the one secretly working against the corporation. Since joining Blackstone as an intern, Sophia has quickly won the trust of the CEO, a strong and determined woman named Margaret. Thanks to her intelligence, sharp analytical skills and tireless work ethic, Sophia has had the opportunity to participate in some of the group's major lawsuits. One of them was a multi-million-dollar insurance lawsuit involving a troubled real estate transaction. She grasped every detail of the case, discussed it with experienced lawyers and quickly put forward convincing arguments, contributing significantly to Blackstone's victory. That success created a solid foundation for Sophia to be signed on as an official intern and become a legal advisor in many important meetings. She was present in every meeting, from internal discussions to negotiations with external partners. She participated and recorded every piece of information, every word, and every decision made. It was from that trust that Sophia gradually gained access to the company's confidential documents. Late one night, when everyone had retreated from the office, leaving only darkness and dim lights, she decided to study the document management software that Blackstone used. With her previous IT skills, Sophia quickly mastered the system and began to exploit the limited information. She discovered that Blackstone was not only involved in money laundering, but also in illegal dealings with organized crime. The confidential documents Sophia found contained information about shady investments, linked to suspicions of political corruption. She couldn't believe what she was seeing, information about the political allies the corporation had used to protect its interests. With this crucial information, Sophia began to formulate a perfect plan. She organized all the documents, compiled a complete dossier, and decided to approach a prominent lawyer who had previously pursued lawsuits against Blackstone. She knew this was a risky but necessary step. After weeks of surveillance and searching, Sophia had finally gathered enough evidence to bring Blackstone to justice. Every document, every email, and every note proved the corporation's involvement in illegal activities. Sophia had documented it all in a giant binder, with bright yellow badges, like a warning sign to criminals. However, while she was elated with her decision, Sophia realized that protecting herself was equally important. She had heard from sources on the sidelines that Blackstone had begun to question her loyalty. She knew that any move she made could be tracked. To avoid being exposed, she carefully hid her documents on a secure USB drive and found a way to approach her lawyer without raising suspicion. Finally, the day Sophia had been waiting for arrived. She met with a prominent lawyer who had fought Blackstone in many cases. Together, they devised a detailed plan to make the evidence Sophia had collected public. She hoped that, when the truth was revealed, her father would be vindicated and Blackstone's other victims would receive justice. However, Sophia could not help but worry. She knew that Blackstone would not stand idly by. Her exposing the truth would certainly cause outrage among the group's leadership. They were powerful and cunning people, and would not easily forgive anyone who dared to threaten their position. A mixture of excitement and fear ran through her as she imagined the challenges that lay ahead. But memories of her father and her dream of justice made her more determined than ever. Standing between life and death, between justice and betrayal, Sophia had no choice but to continue fighting for the truth. She knew she had to prepare for a battle of epic proportions and face forces she had never imagined. As life at Blackstone became increasingly tense, Sophia began to sense that she was being watched. Suspicious glances from colleagues, unusual questions from superiors, and awkward silences during meetings filled her with unease. She knew that her collection of sensitive information could not remain hidden under the corporate radar, where everything around her was monitored minute by minute. One afternoon, as Sophia was preparing to review the documents she had completed, her phone rang. It was a call she had never expected. A trusted friend-in-law, one of the most vocal advocates of the expose, told her that a source within the corporation had confirmed that her signature appeared on the documents in question. They had discovered what she had done, and Blackstone was about to take action. Her heart ached. How careful she had been. It felt like she had been pushed into a trap where all her efforts might have been for nothing. Time was running out. She felt scared, but what she felt stronger was the determination to get justice for her father. Sophia immediately began planning her next move. She realized that staying at Blackstone was no longer a safe option. She had been preparing for this scenario in the weeks of quiet preparation. All the documents and evidence she had collected were carefully backed up in a secret location. She had also thoroughly researched the legal procedures for suing the corporation and had a list of lawyers who specialized in big cases. That night, Sophia acted quickly and decisively. She wiped all important data and evidence from Blackstone's computer and copied everything to a secure USB drive. Her breathing became labored, time seemed to stand still. Looking back at the office where she had worked, a strong emotion surged in her heart, a little regret for the days of pretending. She left the office, anxious but also eager. She was not running away, but moving forward, preparing for the legal battle. Tomorrow, she would return to her apartment, ready to sue Blackstone. It was her belief in justice and her desire to clear her father's name that gave her the strength. As soon as she left the corporation, Sophia connected with a talented lawyer who had fought many lawsuits against Blackstone and was not afraid to challenge the big powers. As she presented the documents and evidence she had collected, the lawyer's eyes lit up with excitement and impression. He decided to stand by Sophia and build a lawsuit with her to overthrow not only Blackstone's illegal activities, but also to restore her father's reputation. As Sophia felt her strength and confidence surge, she had no idea that Blackstone had been secretly watching her every move since she was suspected. The group's underlings had quietly dug into her past, investigating her family and the relationships she had built. They discovered the terrible truth: Sophia was the daughter of Thomas Hayes, who had been Blackstone's first victim, a man they had labeled an unforgivable criminal. Upon learning of her identity, the Blackstones decided to use the same tactic they had used on her father. They could not allow someone like Sophia to overthrow them. With ruthlessness and clever calculation, they began to plan a trap. One morning, as Sophia was leaving a tense meeting with her legal team, she suddenly noticed something was wrong. A black car parked nearby seemed to be following her. Although she felt uneasy, she decided to continue on home to finish an important document. As soon as she entered the house, Sophia felt nervous. She parked her bike outside and quickly went inside, not forgetting to lock the door. But before she could relax, the doorbell rang. She opened the door, and before her eyes was a group of police officers. They asked to enter the house to search, on the grounds that she had information related to a case under investigation. "We need to ask you a few questions," said a police officer, his face serious. "You are accused of being involved in a major money laundering case and are suspected of having ties to the Blackstone Group." Sophia was stunned. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her mind was racing, but she tried to stay calm. "I wasn't involved in any illegal activity," she insisted, but inside she was already feeling uneasy. The police team asked her to produce the documents and storage devices she had used for her work. Sophia, in a panic, began to think about what she had prepared. She knew that everything she had done could be used as evidence against her. As the police searched her apartment, Sophia felt like she was trapped in a nightmare. They discovered the documents she had been trying to collect against Blackstone. Suddenly, one of them found a USB drive she had hidden, containing all the evidence against the corporation. "Can you explain this?" the policeman asked, his eyes filled with doubt. "They are documents I am studying for a lawsuit," Sophia quickly replied. "I did nothing wrong." But her words only made them more skeptical. They eventually decided to arrest Sophia, believing she might be part of a larger plot by Blackstone. She felt desperate and confused. Everything that had been carefully prepared was now evidence against her. As the police car drove away, Sophia knew she had to fight to prove her innocence. She couldn't let Blackstone get the better of her again. All her hard work and planning had to continue where she started, with the belief that the truth would come out. Finally, the day of the trial arrived. Hundreds of eyes were on her with a malicious curiosity. Sophia stood in the dock, determined but heartbroken. She believed she could turn the tables. She had prepared the shocking evidence she had been secretly searching for all this time, the documents she copied herself, and the testimonies of those who had been victims of Blackstone. In a crucial moment, Sophia began to speak, asserting that all the accusations against her were part of a vast conspiracy not only by Blackstone but also part of the criminal system they had built all along. She presented the evidence, presented the fake documents that Blackstone had used, and connected the dots logically and clearly. On the chair, Margaret, the director of Blackstone, was silent but could not hide her panic as Sophia exposed the secrets that the corporation had been hiding. Everything had become dramatic to the point of tension, and the unimaginable was now happening right before her eyes. This is the moment when Sophia fights not only for her own honor but also to prove to the world that she is not a person who is resigned to fate, but a brave girl who stands up against the evil that her father once suffered. Her determination is no longer a personal fight, but has become a fight to protect justice and truth for all those who have been oppressed by Blackstone. At trial, Miss Hayes, Judge Ethan Caldwell said sharply, breaking the silence, "Do you really believe you can defend yourself? Without a lawyer, without counsel, just you against the entire American legal system?" Sophia raised her head, her eyes fixed firmly on the judge. "Your Honor, I believe in justice. I believe that the truth will prevail. I don't have a lawyer, but I have a conscience and an understanding of the law. I will prove my innocence." Attorney Douglas Pierce, representing the prosecution, sneered contemptuously. "How ridiculous. What does a young girl like you know about the law? Surely someone is pulling the strings behind the scenes, taking advantage of her." Sophia was unfazed by the taunt. "Mr. Pierce, I am no one's puppet. I am responsible for my own actions. And I am ready to face any challenge." Judge Caldwell banged his gavel, calling for order. "Silence. Miss Hayes, do you have any evidence to prove your innocence?" "Your Honor, I have," Sophia replied, her voice full of confidence. "I have gathered important evidence, but it has been hidden by those in power." The atmosphere in the courtroom became tense, and the eyes of everyone present at the trial were all on Sophia. Despite the anxiety that was rising in her heart, she resolutely stood firm against the ridicule and criticism from outside. "Evidence?" Judge Caldwell asked, his face still stern. "You say you have evidence, but you don't have an attorney to represent you. What do you plan to do with that evidence?" "I have been preparing for this moment," Sophia said, determined to fill every corner of the room with the sound of her voice. "I would like to ask the court for the courtesy of presenting a document I have collected. It contains information about the relationship between Blackstone and certain government officials, showing that they manipulated the system to protect their interests." Douglas Pierce, looking smug, interrupted, "Miss Hayes, do you know that this court cannot accept information from words alone? You will need corroboration and valid documents. What you provide will not be considered evidence without legality." "Mr. Pierce," Sophia replied, confident but pressured, "don't look down on others like that. If this legal system were truly fair, I would have the opportunity to present every clue and evidence to help find the truth." Judge Caldwell pushed his glasses up his nose and looked closely at Sophia. "Very well. If you do have valid evidence, I will allow you to present it. But remember, you are playing a very dangerous game." "Thank you, Your Honor," Sophia said, sweat beginning to bead on her forehead but her resolve unwavering. She pulled a neatly printed document from her bag. "Here are copies of at least 4 important financial documents I obtained from Blackstone that show their involvement in money laundering." Douglas Pierce shook his head. "Don't put that in the cards. Do you believe that someone would collect and store illegal information from such a large corporation without getting caught? They wouldn't leave anyone out, and nothing you possess can be considered authentic." "I am not dependent on anyone, Mr. Pierce," Sophia replied, her voice fierce and steely. "I have worked with people who have suffered and been hurt by Blackstone's actions. They are willing to stand up and testify to what I have said." "If that is true, then bring those people here," Pierce said, his face showing contempt. "An unofficial witness is worthless without the support of trustworthy parties." When Jerry Miller entered the courtroom, absolute silence fell over the already tense space. All eyes, from curious citizens, sharp-eyed media, to experienced lawyers, were on him. Jerry Miller, a middle-aged man with a plain appearance, but his eyes exuded an unusual determination. He was an important witness, the one who held dark secrets that could expose the entire Blackstone Group. His appearance sent shockwaves through the courtroom. In particular, in the dock, Blackstone's CEO Margaret froze. Her face was ashen, her eyes wide with shock and panic. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Jerry Miller, the man she had personally ordered to be ousted from the company, the man whose reputation and career she had brought down, was now standing before the court, ready to testify against her and her company. Memories flooded Margaret's mind. She recalled the day she had called Jerry into her office, accused him of disloyalty, and fired him without mercy. She had used her power and connections to tarnish his reputation, making it impossible for him to find another decent job. She believed she had eliminated a threat, a potential witness to Blackstone's illegal activities. But she was wrong. Jerry Miller was not intimidated by her power. He had been quietly gathering evidence of Blackstone's wrongdoing, and now he was ready to go public. While Margaret was consumed with panic and anger, Sophia Hayes felt a surge of hope. She looked at Jerry Miller with gratitude and trust. She knew that his testimony would be a powerful blow to Blackstone, help her exonerate her father, and bring justice to the other victims. Judge Caldwell, looking solemn, said, "Mr. Miller, please step to the witness stand." Jerry Miller stepped forward, his back straight, his eyes steady. He was ready to tell what he knew, even if it meant risking his life. "Mr. Miller," Judge Caldwell said, "can you confirm Ms. Hayes' statements about Blackstone's illegal activities?" "Your Honor, I can," Jerry Miller replied, his voice firm. "I worked at Blackstone for many years and witnessed firsthand the fraud, money laundering, and corruption that this company engages in. They will stop at nothing to achieve profit, regardless of law or morality." Attorney Douglas Pierce stood up and tried to argue, "Mr. Miller's testimony is worthless. He was a disgruntled employee who was fired for failing to meet job requirements." "No, Mr. Pierce," said Jerry Miller, "I left Blackstone because my conscience would not allow me to continue working for a criminal organization. I am willing to provide evidence to back up my claims." Jerry Miller began to detail the illegal activities he witnessed at Blackstone. His voice was calm but firm, undaunted by the scrutiny from the company. He presented documents, emails, and recordings that showed the company's involvement in shady deals and corrupt officials. The evidence stunned the courtroom. Whispers began to rise, shocked whispers, and endless chatter. Everyone could not believe what they were hearing. Blackstone's dark secrets, its carefully concealed illegal activities, were now being exposed to the light of justice. The documents, emails, and recordings that Mr. Miller presented were all authentic and undeniable. They showed that Blackstone not only manipulated the financial markets, but also bribed government officials to protect its interests. The huge numbers, the complex transactions, the powerful names, all were clearly and in detail stated by Mr. Miller. In the dock, Margaret could barely keep her composure. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with horror. She couldn't believe that Jerry Miller would dare testify against her and her corporation. She knew that this evidence would ruin her reputation and career, and could even land her in prison. "This is irrefutable evidence," Sophia Hayes said, her voice filled with emotion, echoing throughout the courtroom. "Blackstone used his power and money to manipulate the legal system, cover up crimes, and harm innocent people." Sophia's words seemed to confirm what Mr. Miller had just said. The courtroom seemed to wake up, and the murmurs became louder. Everyone felt outraged by Blackstone's illegal actions. They felt sorry for the victims of this corporation, and they felt admiration for the courage of Jerry Miller and Sophia Hayes. Judge Caldwell banged his gavel, calling for order. He looked at Sophia Hayes with sympathy in his eyes. "Miss Hayes, you have done very well. The evidence you and Mr. Miller have presented proves the truth. I will ask the jury to consider this case carefully." The trial adjourned for jury deliberations. During that time, Sophia Hayes felt a surge of hope. She believed that justice would be served. After several hours of intense deliberation, the jury returned to the courtroom. Each member's face was solemn, their eyes focused on the judge, the defendant, and the audience. Judge Caldwell stood up, his voice echoing throughout the room. The jury has reached a verdict. The jury president stood up, his voice firm. Your Honor, we, the jury, after carefully considering all the evidence and testimony, have come to the following verdict: we declare Sophia Hayes innocent, all charges against her are dropped. We find Blackstone Group guilty on the following charges: large-scale money laundering, in violation of Sections 1956 and 1957 of the United States Code. Corruption, bribery of government officials, violation of Section 201 of the United States Penal Code. Financial fraud, falsification of records and documents, violations of Sections 1341 and 1343 of the United States Code. Conspiracy and conspiracy to commit criminal acts, in violation of Section 371 of the United States Penal Code. Slander others, forged documents. We recommend that the court impose the maximum sentence on the Blackstone Group and the individuals involved. The jury's verdict was like a thunderclap, shaking the courtroom. Murmurs and chatter erupted. Sophia Hayes burst into tears and hugged her father. Margaret, the former CEO of Blackstone, nearly collapsed, her face pale and her eyes filled with despair. The courtroom erupted in applause and cheers. Sophia Hayes burst into tears and hugged Jerry Miller. She had exposed the true face of the Blackstone Group. After the trial, Margaret and her accomplices were arrested, but Blackstone's network of power remained intact. The organization did not collapse easily after a trial. After Sophia Hayes won in court, she did not let her guard down. She and her lawyer continued to investigate, looking for evidence that could clear her father's name. During this process, they discovered an important detail: the fake documents that falsely accused Thomas Hayes were created by a secret group of financial experts hired by Blackstone to hide illegal activities. This group created fake transactions, fake accounts, and fake documents to frame Thomas Hayes. Sophia Hayes and her attorney traced the secretive group of financial experts who created the fake dossier that falsely accused Thomas Hayes. They discovered that after Thomas Hayes was convicted, the group disbanded, its members scattered, but kept in touch through a secret network. Sophia decided to approach each member of the group. She used all her skills and connections to find them and convince them to testify. At first, they were very scared and refused to cooperate. They knew that Blackstone would not forgive anyone who dared to betray them. "We can't testify," one member said, his voice trembling. "Blackstone might kill us." "I understand your fears," Sophia said, her voice full of sympathy. "But do you know that you are also victims of Blackstone? They used you to commit crimes. It is your responsibility to right these wrongs." "But we have no choice," said another. "We have to follow their orders." "You have a choice," Sophia said, her eyes steady. "You can choose the truth. You can choose freedom. You can choose peace." Sophia told them about her father, about the injustice he suffered. She told them about other victims of Blackstone, about lives ruined by the greed and cruelty of this corporation. "You cannot continue to live in darkness," Sophia said. "You must stand up and speak the truth. The truth will bring you freedom and peace." Sophia also did not forget to emphasize that Margaret was now arrested, and the Blackstone Group was on the verge of collapse. Margaret has been arrested and Blackstone is facing collapse. Now, you can completely cooperate without fear of retaliation from them. Eventually, several members of the expert panel agreed to testify. They provided crucial evidence, proving that Thomas Hayes was innocent and that Blackstone had fabricated a false dossier to frame him. They also revealed other dark secrets of Blackstone, crimes they had witnessed or participated in. With this new evidence, Sophia Hayes asked the court to reconsider her father's case. A new trial was held, and this time, the truth was revealed. As the courthouse bell rang, suspense filled the room. Sophia was sure her heart would break if the verdict was not what she expected. But when the judge declared Thomas Hayes not guilty, a wave of happiness washed over her. Sophia saw her father, Thomas, standing among the judges and witnesses, his eyes sparkling with joy and relief. As soon as the trial ended, people began to leave the courtroom, but Sophia had only one thought in her mind: to run to her father. She ran through the crowd, ignoring the gazes of those around her. When she reached him, She opened her arms, and Thomas did the same. They hugged each other, no longer in distance, no longer in pain. The warmth of each other's arms seemed to dispel all the worries and fears that had oppressed them for so many years. "Thank you, Sophia. You did what I couldn't," Thomas exclaimed, his voice filled with emotion. Tears of joy rolled down her cheeks as she whispered in his ear, "You don't have to thank me, you just need to be here, by my side." "We won?" There they stood, father and son, joined together in the crowd, in the overwhelming light of recognition and freedom. A sense of triumph spread through their bodies, and it was as if all the pain from before had melted away. They knew, at last, that the truth had returned. The trial ended, the judge's gavel echoed throughout the courtroom, signaling a resounding victory for justice. Sophia Hayes, a young girl with determined eyes, had proven her innocence and exposed the true face of the Blackstone Group. "Daddy," Sophia said, her voice shaking with emotion, "I have a dream." Thomas Hayes looked at his daughter, a warm smile on his lips. "I know you've always had big dreams, Sophia. My daughter, you've proven that you can do anything you set your mind to." "I want to start a law firm," Sophia said, "a place where true justice is served, where the weak are protected, and where the powerful cannot manipulate the law." Thomas Hayes nodded, his eyes shining with pride. "That's a wonderful dream, Sophia. I've always believed you could do great things. And I'll be there for you every step of the way, cheering you on." "I'm grateful, Dad," Sophia said, tears of happiness rolling down her cheeks. Thomas Hayes smiled, placing his hand on his daughter's shoulder. "Veritas Lex. What a beautiful name. I believe our law firm will bring justice to the wronged, and will become a beacon of truth in this world." And so, the law firm Veritas Lex was born, marking a new chapter in Sophia Hayes' life. Thomas Hayes was a famous, veteran lawyer. He helped his daughter build a team of talented and dedicated lawyers, taking on difficult cases that other law firms refused. They fought for the innocent, the oppressed, the abandoned. Veritas Lex quickly became a symbol of justice and hope. They won many important victories, exposing dark conspiracies and bringing criminals to justice. Sophia Hayes is not only a talented lawyer, she is also a hero. She has inspired millions of people around the world, proving that a small woman can change the world. And Thomas Hayes, the great father, always stood by his daughter's side, watching her every step, proud of what she had done. Together they wrote a story about justice, about fatherhood and about the power of courage.